On today's show, the Phoenix Suns get a get-right game defeating the Sacramento Kings. Collin Gillespie starts and shines. Why he's just a real deal NBA player now. Let's talk about that and much more in this edition of Locked On Phoenix Suns.
You are Locked On Suns, your daily Phoenix Suns podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What is up? Welcome back into Locked On Phoenix Suns. My name is Benjamin Garcia, host of The Ben Garcia Show. Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 8 a.m. on YouTube, covering all things Arizona sports, and a credentialed Phoenix Suns media member covering your Phoenix Suns 365 days out of the year. That's why we call it your team here every day for the Locked On Podcast Network, the world's number one sports podcast network. With that being said, however you may be listening, wherever you may be listening, thank you so much for making myself and this show a part of your day. Don't forget, Locked On Suns is free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. So click that follow or subscribe button to do what thousands of Suns fans have already done. Become an everyday and get locked on the Phoenix Suns right here each and every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Head to FanDuel.com to get started. We are getting way more of these games than I expected the Phoenix Suns to have 18 games into the regular season. 19 games through the regular season. The Suns are now, I thought they were, the Suns are now 12-7 through their first 19 games this season. And I don't want to be that guy, but remember when they said this was the tough stretch? Do you remember that? Well, they won't beat the Timberwolves. Well, they'll lose to the Rockets, and they did, but the Suns were running it out there with nobody. Well, the Kings are playing pretty well right now. Don't let people discredit this win. Don't let people discredit this win like people are trying to find a reason to not believe in this Phoenix Suns team. There are a few different things that we're graduating to tonight. I'm not ready to say that maybe the Suns are just a bona fide playoff team, but what I will say is we are 19 games into the regular season. This is who they are. This is the team they are. And I thought tonight was a perfect encapsulation of that. Got up big. A lot of that had to do with Collin Gillespie starting in this game, which more on him in about 60 seconds. But they got up big in this game. And yes, were there a couple of moments? Not even a couple. There was one moment where you thought it was getting too close for comfort. And you're saying to yourself, this time last year, they're blowing that lead. They're blowing that lead. Do you remember the fourth quarter last year? It was like a punchline to a bad joke. That's what the Suns' fourth quarters were like. And yeah, it got a little uncomfortable there. Sacramento Kings outscored the Suns 28-16 in the third quarter. But what was more interesting is that the Suns came back out of that quarter and then outscored the Sacramento Kings, meaning they took their best punch. This third quarter started off a 20-9 run. They took their best shot. And it wasn't enough. Because even though they started to get bucket after bucket after bucket, they once cut this lead to 8 points, the Suns never wavered. They never lost their lead. And here's why, so we were like, hey, you're only listening to times when you're right. How about this one? Here's somewhere where I was wrong. I'm not going to act like I was dead wrong on this. Like, I'll be honest when those times come. But I was someone who believed Colin Gillespie's role was, I'm still trying to figure out the exact comp, but because in spirit of playing the Sacramento Kings, I'll use this comp. I thought his comp was the Malik Monk type. Now, I'm only saying that because they just played the Sacramento Kings tonight, and that's what Malik Monk has been known for. Come off the bench, be a microwave scorer, but Collin Gillespie's more than that. And too many times this season, we're generalizing Collin Gillespie and not being more deep with it, I'm no longer going to come on these shows and just tell you, man, Colin Gillespie's been really impressive. Man, has he just been a breath of fresh air? He's graduated from that. He's not Jamare Bouye, who, by the way, I told you guys I really liked, out of San Francisco. Didn't think he'd be this impactful right away, but he gave the Suns really good minutes tonight. But the way I'm going to talk about Jamare Bouye is, well, that was impressive. Hit a couple of open threes, gave the Suns exactly what they needed. You didn't necessarily expect that from him. Now it's come to the point where Colin Gillespie, where we just have to be big boys about it. He's a real deal NBA player. Not scrappy, not pesky, not microwave scorer. No, he's a legitimate championship level player. Now, where is he in the pecking order of a championship roster? I don't know. He's not a 1, probably. He's not a 2, probably. He's probably not even a 3. But I hate to make the comparison, but it kind of, they remind me of each other. He looks like a bottled version, I don't even want to say poor man's, because he's been really great this year. He is a lesser than version of Austin Reaves right now. He has got a silky smooth jumper that has instilled confidence in you that if he puts it up, it's going in. And he's shooting I think he's shooting, let's make sure before I just make up numbers. Colin Gillespie is shooting 42% from the field as a whole, 41% from 3 on 6 attempts a night. That is reaching elite status of 3-point percentage. He is no longer the pesky, fun, surprising player this year. He is a real deal NBA player with hopes of not just being a 6 man of the year player, but again, the most improved player in the NBA. When you talk about most improved, it's a player who is undrafted, cut from his first team, picked up off the scrap heap, and now you're saying to yourself, after one game of him starting, is he really this good? Is he just really this good? Because if he is, and the pressure he alleviates off from Devin Booker, even if Booker's not scoring super effectively, how many turnovers did Booker have tonight? 1. You want to know why? Because there was pressure alleviated from him off ball, meaning Colin Gillespie is on ball, Booker's a little bit off ball. His usage won't be as high. And he's the reason why the Suns got out in that massive lead. And so it's no more just like, oh, he's been really good. He's been a revolution. He's just a guy now. He's just a real deal NBA player where I've got a little bit of egg on my face. Because one of the reasons why I wasn't actively saying you can't start Colin Gillespie, but if I had a preference, it would have been that he comes off the bench and plays the Malik Monk, Austin Reaves role. Austin Reaves is obviously a starter now, but pre-starting Austin Reaves, that sort of role. And I thought that would be better for him because when you're coming off the bench, there's a little less structure to it to begin the game, meaning your role is less, hey, I'm the starter, I'm playing with Book, got to make sure he gets his, got to make sure I'm looking at Mark Williams, got to make sure I'm still being a plus offensively, with also not being hunted defensively. He didn't get hunted once defensively in this game. He hit a bunch of open 3-point jumpers. In the beginning, he got Book going, and Mark Williams had one of his best nights as a Phoenix Sun. I can't act like that's a coincidence. And so I thought the better version of him was a little bit more out of structure, where he can come off the bench. He kind of knows his role a little bit. There's less pressure on him to be elite to be really good right away. But the moment wasn't too big for him. Immediately when he comes into this game, 2 for 2 from the floor, 5 points, forced a turnover, an assist, and that turnover that he forced turned into a Devin Booker 3 the other direction. One of, Devin Booker's 2 he made tonight. And so I thought that was okay. It's a transformation now. It's a transformation. Here's the other thing that I want to say. You know what? We'll get to that. We'll get to that on the other side. Plus, dissecting a bit of the Devin Booker atrocious shooting performance tonight, but there was some good from it. And we'll get to that next. First, today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of a game or you want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. I remember I was at work the other day, and someone asked me to help them out with a parlay. And I was like, listen, I'm not the biggest bettor, but if I'm going to use a betting app, I'm going to use FanDuel. And I laid out a couple of bets for them. At that point, it was like Devin Booker over 30, Mark Williams over 8 rebounds, and the parlay hit. They cashed, and it was off of a lot of things that I just felt good about. So right now, FanDuel, it keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game of FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Continuing on the show. Before I get to Devin Booker, I want to just briefly mention this because it was the first thing that popped out to me. The Sacramento Kings are a less popular version of the Phoenix Suns from last season. Well, what do you mean by that, Ben? The Sacramento Kings have no idea what they are. How many times did we watch that exact same game last year from the Phoenix Suns perspective that now the Sacramento Kings are living? The Kings have talent. They've got you look at their roster and you're like, oh, I know who all those players are. And it's guys like DeMar DeRozan. They've got Malik Monk there. Domantas Sabonis is hurt, but still obviously a all-star level player. Listen to the starting lineup outside of Drew Eubanks, Keegan Murray, Russell Westbrook, DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine. And guys coming off the bench like Keon Ellis, Malik Monk, Devin Carter, he obviously didn't play tonight, but still he had moments last year. And they've got Domantas Sabonis on the bench. They've got real deal players. The problem is they're a bunch of square pegs and round holes. They've got no identity. They are just a collection of talent. And that sort of roster, I think before the season began, you would say, oh, that could be a play-in scrappy team. They've got the talent to be a playoff team. They probably wouldn't be that, but still. And the proof of that is kind of in the pudding a little bit. They beat the Denver Nuggets the other night. They beat the Minnesota Timberwolves the other night by a larger margin than what the Suns did. But the Suns played the version of opposing teams that played the Suns last year in the Sacramento Kings sense now. The Suns are a younger, twitchier, faster-paced team that teams like the Sacramento Kings that are old, largely brittle, and are nothing more than a collection of talent are getting played off the floor. The Suns, yes, they had 17 turnovers tonight, but in the first half, they had 7 as a whole. The Suns forced 19 turnovers tonight and 34 points off those turnovers, something they have not been doing particularly well all season long. And the Suns were the faster-paced, younger, twitchier team that gave the Suns fits last year that the Kings are now dealing with this year. The Kings are just a collection of talent with no identity. Talent is not an identity. What the Suns do is an identity. Suns got up 20-plus points. What happened in the third quarter? That lead came down to about 8 points. A lot of that was largely due to the Suns chucking up 3-point shots that they did not need to chuck up. But it's also the the Suns' ability to get back on defense and suffocate the Sacramento Kings. And that's what they did tonight. The Kings are living last year's Suns season from hell. They have no idea what they are. They put a bunch of talent on a team. They're not necessarily sure if they're a lottery team or if they, at the beginning of the season, wanted to be a play-in team. And so now they're just kind of figuring out on the fly, and that's a horrible way to do it. The Suns, on the other hand, know exactly what they are. They've got a collection of talent that complements each other. Kings don't have that. And I thought that was interesting tonight to kind of look through the mirror and say, oh, I remember that team. That was the Suns from last season. And then also Devin Booker, who I got to get to in today's show. It's so frustrating that you have to do this, that you have to list all the accolades of Devin Booker and your belief in Devin Booker. Like, I have to constantly remind people, hey guys, I voted him a top 15 player in the NBA Locked On Top 100. I believe that to be the case. I think he's the best number 2 in the NBA. I think he's the second best shooting guard in the NBA. I think he's a bona fide all-star player. Like, it's frustrating that in this climate, you can't just say, oh, Devin Booker has not been playing well. Because oftentimes it's, why are you hating on Booker? Why would I hate on Devin Booker? Check the receipts. I was one of the few people that actually advocated for Devin Booker's Supermax extension and said how ridiculous it would have been had they traded him. And I've been proven right on both those things because it was the right move to do. And I've given you guys, I feel like I've done a lot of research on this too. I think I've busted my ass on this, looking through it, bringing guests on the show. And I think I've been right. But the last couple of games from Devin Booker, I've given you a lot of reasons why he's been bad, why I think he's been really bad offensively. I should clarify that. Why he's been really bad shooting the basketball. And it was largely a combination of one thing that is kind of on him. It's a combination of teams, it's a combination of really good teams and the players that they have that match up well with Devin Booker. A la Jeremy Sohan for the first half of that San Antonio Spurs game, a la Naz Reid, Jaden McDaniels, Amen Thompson, Jabari Smith Jr., and a lot of that had to do with the fact as well as he wasn't getting a lot of help offensively and he was having to do basically everything. And that's not his fault. Guys got to get healthy. Tonight was different because Booker was shooting tour dates tonight from the field. He was really bad. And what I will say is, like, here's the positive thing. So it's not all just like, well, Devin Booker isn't playing very well, because people don't respond well to that. And I get it. You don't want to make it seem like you're picking on everyone's guy. And this is everyone's guy. But I thought the first good thing is he distributed the ball really well tonight. I thought he should have had 12 assists in this game. If any Suns player could buy a 3-point bucket in the third quarter, I thought he would have had 12 assists tonight. And every assist he had, I was like, oop, good pass. Oh, good look. Oh, yep, that's nice. He was moving the ball particularly well tonight. He wasn't flustered. He wasn't rushed, which is why I don't think this game is like what the hell is wrong with Devin Booker, because I'm not going to attribute it to who they were playing. The Sacramento Kings suck at defense. I'm not going to attribute it to who the Kings have on that team. They don't have Jaden McDaniels on that team, Jabari Smith Jr. I'm not going to attribute it to injuries. The Suns were mostly healthy enough tonight, playing against a bad Kings team. Not mostly healthy, but healthy enough. You're not going to like this answer, but because it's not analytical. Like, he was getting to his spots in the mid-range. He had some open looks from three. I think it's just all mental. I think Booker has gone through a gauntlet of games where he has not been great, and dealing with the pressure, not like literal pressure, like legitimately players blitzing him and trapping him. And I think it caught him a little off guard tonight, how soft the Kings are defensively, because he got to his spots. So I know there are people out there that's going to be really frustrated with Devin Booker's atrocious shooting performance tonight, but I can't sit here and say like it looked ugly, because it didn't. It just felt like shots weren't falling tonight, and that's as far as it should go from there. Booker did not forget how to play basketball. He is going to be perfectly and wonderfully fine. I bet he makes the All-Star. At this point, he should make the All-Star game. And that's where it goes from there. I see the other games. They got the players. They've got the bandwidth to throw at Booker. And I get it. And he was panicking. And the turnovers were bad. Tonight, it was mostly about shots just weren't falling. And it's just a bad time for it to happen because it's compounding from what happened over the last couple weeks. But remember what myself and John Voight said on yesterday's show. What was the most correctable thing about Devin Booker's poor performances? The turnovers. And tonight, how many turnovers did he have? Booker had one singular turnover, taking care of the basketball. And I would argue that is not the most important, but the second most important thing in this game. Because how many times against the Houston Rockets the other night where they'd cut the lead down to 7 or 8, and then Booker or someone on the team would have an atrocious turnover that would lead to easy points the other direction. So Booker, not great tonight, shooting the basketball, but I actually don't think he was awful. Like, too many times people look at the, field goal percentage and are like, oh, what did that look like? I watched the game. I don't need just the statistics. I thought he was actually pretty good at playmaking and taking care of the basketball. Shots just got to start falling, and I think they will. The NBA Cup is a legitimate thing. That's what the Suns just played tonight. And you know what? They're in the driver's seat, and they control their own destiny to advance to the knockout round. We'll talk about that and much more next. Today's episode is brought to you by DoorDash. The NBA season is heating up, and DoorDash has found the perfect way to keep fans in their bag all season long. Whether you're watching for the highlights, your fantasy team, or just your favorite player, DoorDash makes every game night even better. DoorDash is the official on-demand delivery platform of the NBA, and they're celebrating with something called the bag drop. Every time an NBA player scores 50 points in a game, DoorDash drops 50% off your order with Dash Pass the next day, and you're automatically entered for a chance to win the ultimate fan bag. We're talking about player-inspired drip, exclusive gear, and stuff you'll actually want. DoorDash has you covered for late-night highlights, last-minute watch parties, and double OT fuel up. So next time someone goes off for 50, use promo code NBA50 the next day to get 50% off on DoorDash with Dash Pass. Plus, your shot at the bag drop. Dash Pass members only, 50% up to $10 the day after a 50-point game with promo code. Terms apply. No purchase necessary. Ends April 13th. Open to U.S. residents 21 or older. Visit DoorDashInYourBag.com for full details. DoorDash in your bag all season long. Okay, closing out the show. So, full disclosure, I'm not the biggest NBA Cup guy. I find it hard to simulate the playoffs, simulate that sort of atmosphere. With that being said, I kind of care about the NBA Cup now because the Suns are in the driver's seat to win it. And I think of it like this. What Booker says, what other players say, but Booker more specifically is like, these games, these NBA Cup games get so elevated in when you put a tournament format together, players play harder. And the Suns are getting valuable reps and uncomfortable, put in uncomfortable situations where it could feel familiar to the playoffs. So you know what? I'm all into the NBA Cup now. And just so everyone knows, because I'll be honest with you, it is very confusing. I'll just read it out to you guys at this point so you guys understand it as well. But here's how group play works. All 30 teams who have been randomly selected draw into a group of 5 where their conference based on wins-loss records from the 2024-2025 regular season, and they'll go against each other. So right now the Suns are obviously in group play, and the way it works for each team to advance to the knockout round. So here's also from the NBA.com official website. Quote, 8 teams will advance to the knockout rounds. The team with the best standing in group play in each of the 6 groups and 2 wild cards. So that means every group winner and then 2 wild cards. The team from each conference with the best record in playing games that finished second in its group. The knockout rounds will consist of single elimination and in the quarterfinals played in NBA team markets on Tuesday, December 9th and Wednesday, December 10th, and semifinals and championships played in Las Vegas on December 13th and December 16th. So here's how it shakes out for the Phoenix Suns right now. You've got the Los Angeles Lakers, who are in like Flynn. You've got the Denver Nuggets, who currently lead their group, and the teams that are available underneath that, however you want to put it, is the Suns lead the charge. So if the Suns beat the Oklahoma City Thunder, and I'm getting ahead of myself, the Suns are 3-0 in group play. So they've got to play everyone. And they've got the Oklahoma City Thunder on the road this upcoming Friday. They beat the Oklahoma City Thunder. They're in. They have punched their ticket. They're on their way to what I think is the first seed. It'd be neck and neck. It'd be between the Lakers and the Suns. Right now, the Lakers are at plus 36 differential. Suns are at plus 35 point differential. That also matters. But again, regardless, if the Suns win that game against the Thunder, they are in. They're in the knockout stages where they'll be. All that stuff will get, figured out in seeding when that happens. If the Suns lose, they've got to be obviously, so they've already clinched second in their group, but they've also got to have the higher point differential between at this point, Memphis Grizzlies, Los Angeles Clippers, San Antonio Spurs, Portland Trail Blazers. The Suns right now lead all those teams in point differential, but it is kind of close. So if the Suns beat the Thunder or lose pretty close, they will likely get in. Now, there is a world where, San Antonio wins and they win by a lot. They could jump the Suns. Then it gets really messy, right? It gets really messy. The best thing for the Suns to do right now is just to win on Friday, which is a massive litmus test with the Oklahoma City Thunder. Kind of exciting times. We're talking about the Suns potentially winning their group with the Minnesota Timberwolves, with the Oklahoma City Thunder, the Sacramento Kings, who were supposed to be better, and then the Utah Jazz, who looked good at the beginning of the season, right? That's what everyone else told me. The Suns were faced with a gauntlet of a group. I mean, you could have had the Lakers group, which was consist of the Pelicans, Mavs, Clippers, and Grizzlies, which is just asinine. But the Suns are in the driver's seat, and they control their own destiny. We can get frustrated about who it is they're playing on Friday, that being the Oklahoma City Thunder, but they win that game, they're in. They're just in. And they could have a chance. It'd be tough. The Oklahoma City Thunder are plus 71 point differential. But there is a world where they can knock the Oklahoma City Thunder out of the NBA Cup altogether. I know it doesn't mean as much as like playoffs or things of that nature, but it is something. And so here's what I'll tell you guys. If the Suns get Grayson Allen back for Friday's game, potentially Ryan Dunn, I feel good about their chances. Now, feeling good about their chances on a Friday game in random November, again, or I guess at that point, random November against the Oklahoma City Thunder is completely different than picking them in a playoff series. I'm not saying that. I'm saying with the way the Suns are playing, I think Devin Booker is due for a breakout at any moment. I feel good about their chances. It'd be irrational for me to say that they're definitely going to win, but I don't expect them to walk into OKC and get the doors beaten off them. This team deserves the right to have some belief in them. They are demanding that from you. And so Friday will be interesting for this Phoenix Suns team that is could be the winners of Group A in the NBA Cup. Oh man, how far we've come. Good, massive W for the Phoenix Suns tonight. A get-right game, and they're right back on track. Like every time you think this team might be falling off a little bit, and I'll admit to you, like I kind of thought about it too after the Rockets game. Complete domination of the Sacramento Kings. Well, what about the third quarter? What about it? Kings never got within 6 points. Complete domination. Suns are dominating teams still. And what is it? Winning 12 of their last 15 games? Yeah, I'll take that. Credit to the Suns. Credit to Jordan Ott. Credit to freaking Colin Gillespie, man, who's just a real deal player. Flowers to Mark Williams, who we didn't get to a ton do tonight, but we will in the next show. He was awesome tonight. Oso Ighodaro, sweet baby Oso Ighodaro, I thought played really well tonight too. It's all good vibes for now. We'll see about that litmus test on Friday against the Oklahoma City Thunder. The one thing I'll say is don't count them out. Don't count them out. With all that being said, guys, that's all I got for you tonight. Follow me on all social media platforms at Ben Garcia Show. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe to the show. Appreciate you guys tuning in here. Have a heck of a Thanksgiving, man. I am so incredibly thankful for you guys who continuously listen to me. Let me have my takes. Let me take you through the game from the way that I see it. And it's awesome, man. So I appreciate you guys for that. Have a heck of a Thanksgiving. Please stay safe. And I'll talk to you guys post-game after the Oklahoma City Thunder game. Hopefully after a Suns win. Night, guys. Happy Thanksgiving.